Hey guys, I'm Jason. Probably half of the guys in here have probably had drinks or met with face to face. For those that don't know me, I used to have my own agency some moons ago called Freak Design. I did a hell of a lot of things with the platform and Shopify and helped grow out many brands and many different merchants in terms of what they were doing. So much like you guys here, I was once a Shopify partner as well, so I know the kind of struggles and things that you need to do to help grow your business, and certainly from a theme perspective. One of the things I want to talk about tonight is called Metafield Madness. Cal picked this topic and I thought, well, I'm going to change the name to something a little bit more realistic, but actually now thinking about it, I kind of like it. Metafields are something that are particularly dear to my heart. So we're going to go through a few things in this quick talk. One is going to be, what is a metafield? And why should I care? Most of you should know what a metafield is. I'm not going to make you put your hands up if you don't know, because I'm not going to do that this time. But I'm sure some of you guys don't actually know what a metafield is. We'll talk about how metafields can help you. And we'll go through some warnings. Like anything, you've got to use these things with a healthy level of caution. So let's start with the why should we care part. For those that don't know, it's the basics. Metafields are essentially something you can use to add extra information to resources in Shopify. Think of it as the custom field. It's a way to add extra data and information onto stuff. And that stuff can be products, it can be variants, it can be articles, blogs, any resource within Shopify, including the shop itself, you can add metafields to. A metafield itself is really built up of simple things. It has a namespace, a key, and obviously a value attached to it. If you like the look of what's there, it should be easy to understand. There's a product, it has metafields on it, has a namespace of tabs, it has a key of specs, and then whatever would be added into the specs, metafield would be a string or a numerical value. You can then use that somehow to put it onto the storefront, and there's some code. Now I have a lot of code slides, and I'm not going to pause on these because I think I'm limited to 10 minutes. So I'm going to power through all of these slides. If you're interested in the code, come ping me, and I'll just give you these slides. So, what do you use them for? You can use them to extend data fields. Within Shopify, there's already stuff within the admin, which you use every single day. You can use metafields to add more of them. So if you're finding that maybe Shopify admin doesn't give your clients enough fields to add their information, metafields will actually fill that hole. It lets you avoid alternate templates. A lot of you probably approach themes by saying, look, if this product type needs to have a different look and feel, what we'll do is we'll actually add an alternate template. And that works great once. What if they have 10, 20, 100, 1,000 different product types? Are you literally going to add 1,000 different alternate templates into your theme? Probably not. Something like metafields can help reduce the complexity. Because if you are changing an alternate template, that means that for every code change, you have to do it across all of them. That's a serious pain in the ass. It helps you avoid abusing tags. Shopify in the front end, if you're doing a collection, you're doing a beautiful side filtering system, you will show at most something with 1,000 tags. We have a physical limit. Within Shopify, you won't see any more than 1,000 tags. So if you have a collection with 1,001 unique tags on it, that one at the end isn't going to be shown. We'll pretend that it doesn't even exist. So if you can move some of that data into a metafield, it helps reduce some of the extra information you guys are throwing into tags. Avoids adding hacks into the descriptions. Very simple process for doing extra information in the product description, for example. Throw some text in your description, put a little string in there, could be a HTML comment, put all your extra stuff below it, and then use Liquid to literally split the top and bottom parts. That's a very common approach, and I'm sure a lot of you have done it. One reason to avoid it is things like channels. Amazon channel, any channel that's going to import your HTML content would also then pull in all of your content that you're hacking into that sort of approach where you're splitting content out. A metafield helps you move that stuff from the product description into somewhere else where it's totally safe and protected from those channels. It maintains a pretty content structure, like product description over there, metafield content over there. It's just a nice way of handling content. Keeps content hidden away, which is a good and bad thing. Sometimes you might have staff, or a merchant has staff, and you don't want them to actually tinker with some stuff. And a metafield, by consequence, being hard to edit in the admin, actually gives you some way of actually putting content in, but making it actually hard to edit. And they're awesome. So how can metafields help? We'll go through a few examples of the ways that I've seen Metafields used, and most of the examples here are ways that I've actually personally used myself. But the first one is going to be migrations. Shopify now has a ridiculously larger presence than it did going back 6, 12, 2 years. A lot of the clients that you're going to start to see are coming from other platforms. Those other platforms have custom fields. They've got some way of adding extra data onto their products, pages, categories, and you're going to need to put it somewhere. So you need to know what metafields are and how to use them to be able to enable that migration from where they are to where they want to be, which is on Shopify. So, really simple things. Maybe you have a product page that you need to do some very simple design theming, and here we are, we're saying blue. We want to make stuff blue if the product is blue. A little bit of quick code here, like I said, we're not going to pause on it. But we had a metafield saved in this product page, which simply has a hex code value. So blue product, everything's blue. Simple. Brown product, everything's brown. It's a tiny design touch, but not something you can do immediately, quickly or obviously within the Shopify admin. You can try to use a tag. That's kind of a hacky approach. Metafields are perfect for this sort of thing. Tabs and extra content, always a good one. See at the top of the page, we have the ingredients tab showing. That content sits within a metafield. It doesn't sit within the product description. It's not hurting the customer's SEO. It's not getting pulled then into the other channels. Great way to separate out content. We have another example from State Bicycle, old client of mine. A lot of the things you're seeing on the page here are all from metafields. Everything from what looks like a title to the blurb underneath, to the small section here, and other parts down the bottom of the page, all of that is built by metafields. Again, in the admin, you have one product description area, and metafields let this client have multiple little areas that they could add the right text. And a lot of these decisions were based on SEO for them. Other examples, delivery timeframes, back orders, units sold, common stuff that you're going to come across. Right down the bottom, for the guys that are sitting in the back, might be harder to see, but there's a bar of how many units have been sold. This was simply approached by throwing a metafield that had set the starting value of how many products they had. Simple math, simple CSS. I think we even animated that bar to make it look sexy. It sort of grew to what was left. Common approach, but by being able to save that value in a metafield, it enables that to happen. Without it, you're going to go down some really hacky approaches and probably using tags again. Middle of the screen, back order information. Simply just says how long it's going to take until it's delivered. Something that we don't do natively in the admin. So Metafields lets us do it. And dynamic layouts. One of my favorites, like most of the work that I had done, was based on Metafields to make pages look a hell of a lot sexier than what they could be. And this is probably where the most of your time is going to be focused, using metafields to make shit look cool. And this is a good example. On the left-hand side, we can see that I'm using a Chrome extension called Custom Fields, and there's a whole bunch of information in there. And the process would be that based on what is entered or not entered into those fields, things would happen on the other side. So we have standard content at the top, and then below, if they've entered in a string of images, a gallery shows. If they entered in a string of product handles or product collections, related products show. If there's a video, video shows. You can take that a step further and add another field in there that might even control the order in which these things show. So again, this is not an alternate template, this is one single template that you're just using metafields to enhance, and probably enhance a hell of a lot. Customer personalization. Here's me. I've been a customer over a year apparently on this store, and I haven't spent a great deal. But right down the bottom, you can see a few. Again, some custom fields. There's metafields that say that I like Converse shoes and I like jeans. There's another field in here that actually has a customized message. So there's an app that runs in the background, and after I make a purchase, the app makes some custom logic and infuses a new message that would then show when I log in. Now the app is smart enough to make it slightly more human than what simply a liquid code would based on last order, but it gives you a real sense that you're giving a shit about the customer. And so when they log in, there's a nice sexy message there waiting for them based on whatever their order was. And I think after 30 days, the message would actually then get changed to something else. So if I log in a year, it doesn't ask me about my Converse shoes because I would have probably forgotten about it by then. And right down the bottom, there's a little JSON string which has all sort of information about me as a customer. So it has colors that I'm interested in, my shoe size, it even has things like my shirt size, waist size. All that information is jam-packed in a little metafield, so when I log in, I'm going to repurchase. I can use that information to pre-populate my product pages. If I know that customer is a size 9.5 shoe, I can have it pre-selected. If I know they're buying a certain shirt and we have that in stock, I can show that first on the product pages. I don't have to wait until they find it themselves. And that's really powerful information that you can store in Metafield. Inventory location. So if you came to Unite, if you've watched the podcast, if you've seen things, multi-location inventory is coming to Shopify. It is not, however, available right now. You can use Metafields to emulate the same effect if you need to. So if you have a client that is desperate for it, you could use the power of Metafields to start storing location information within it, so then you can show that on the storefront. Deadstock is a great example. They use Metafields to show the location of their shoes and their clothing and the products. So that's deadstock.ca, and this is the pop-up that you'll see on any of their product pages. It says view in-store availability, you click it, and then it shows the information. All that's actually driven by Metafields behind the scenes. Related things, nested things, grouped things. These ones I really love. You have a client saying, I really wish that Shopify had nested collections. They don't do that. It's like, well, that's not true. Metafields can help you drive that through theme logic. Maybe products. You can't have related products or nested products. Absolutely. This is all about just data talking to each other. So you can store those relationships in Metafield. Good example of the previous store we looked at in a few slides ago. Down the bottom, we have 3 products. They relate directly to that. This client, we literally hand-coded in the related products as a Metafield. So there was, I think, 4 or 5 related makeup products. So when they land on this page, it shows them directly under the product page. Now it could be a collection, it could be a whole series of things. It doesn't need to be related like that. You could show all of them underneath the add to cart page further up if you needed to add all of them to the cart at once. You have the power to nest, group, and relate things with Metafields. And for anyone here that's their day-to-day is doing the Voodoo, that's CEO, Metafields can help there as well. Like if you want to have control over the meta tags and the things that appear in the header, you can store all of that information in a Metafield. If for some reason you have a client that is adamant that they have to have the meta keywords tag in the header, despite all good advice, if they really want it, sure, jam it in a Metafield, show it in their head, and you're good to go. And also hiding items from the sitemap. If you didn't know, you can use a Metafield to remove items from the sitemap in Shopify. And that's what it looks like over there. Simply add the SEO namespace, the key of hidden, the value of 1, and the type of an integer. And that file, so it could be product, a page, a collection, a blog, it will vanish from the sitemap. It won't exist there anymore. Very important if you're adding fake or behind the scenes sort of products which aren't meant to be customer facing. Maybe they just serve a purpose in some other way in what you're building out. This at least makes them much harder for Google to index and find. Weirder things like cost of goods. I'm sure a few of you have clients that have asked about cost of goods. And again, you can add a Metafield. This is using that custom fields Chrome extension again. And right down the bottom, we've stored the cost of goods for what the product is. So best practice and healthy warnings, and I'm going to power through this quick. Should the Metafield even live in Shopify? Make good choices about your data. Not everything is actually meant to live in Shopify, so don't go crazy and add 1,000 different things into your Shopify store. They are not well supported in the admin. The only place you can natively edit them is using the Shopify bulk editor. Will that change in the future? Maybe, but right now, you're stuck with third-party tools or Chrome extensions. They are not returned in admin searches or storefront searches. So as powerful as they are for content, you're going to need to use a third-party tool if you hope to search for them on the storefront, and there's no way in hell you can search them within the admin. And API call limits are a very real thing. To add a Metafield, you have to use the API. If you're going to add 1,000 Metafields, it's 1,000 API calls. So be really smart in how you're doing these things. And don't forget about the other developers in the room. It's all nice to be a front-end dev and add a zillion Metafields or something, but if then that fucks up the poor app developer that's got to deal with them, no, you've got to really be thinking ahead and work with some smart practices. And Metafields don't work with Shopify scripts. So this is specific to our Plus merchants. You can't pull that data out for a Shopify script. Will that happen in the future? Probably not. But you've got to make sure that whatever process that you have, if you need to access that data, you've got to do it in a different way. And as for apps or general info, if you're using Metafields, please do your fellow partners, developers, theme devs a favor. Certainly if you're touching themes, please document this shit. There's nothing worse than bumping into someone else's theme and wondering how the hell they did something and wasting half an hour of your time to find out that it's actually from some nested Metafield somewhere crazy. Just edit theme.liquid, for example, or add a README file and just say, look, this is where some of this stuff is coming from. It makes life a hell of a lot easier. And there's some links. I'm sure we'll share this PDF. One notable thing is probably the exporter app right down the middle. Even though you can't export metafields within the admin natively, exporter app actually can. So if you are adding things like cost of goods for your clients and they need to get the information out, exporter app's going to be super handy for them because they can export a nice spreadsheet with Metafield in place and then they can do whatever spreadsheet voodoo they need. There's a few apps there mentioned, Chrome extensions and things, but we'll share this slide with you. So there we go.